And I agonized over this, like, oh, how am I going to write this? He's a world famous nutrition scientist, yada, yada. I finally sent him an email. And as soon as I sent it, Yvonne, I was like clutching my throat, going, oh my God, what did I do?
What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want is a story you're telling yourself? It's not your age, it's not your circumstances, a story. My guest today has some research-backed thoughts on that and a pretty remarkable life that proves her point. Her name is Sally Duplantier. She started two businesses, retired twice, earned a master's degree in her 60s, published seven peer-reviewed research papers, and is currently finishing her doctorate at 75. I'd speculate, though, that she would probably say she's not special. Let's find out. Sally, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh my gosh, Yvonne, that was a great introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to put you on the spot right out of the gate. Are you special? Because on the outside, your story looks pretty remarkable. And I know on the first time that you and I spoke on a phone call, you even admitted that you have like the Pollyanna gene. So are you wired differently than the rest of us, or is this something that any of us can do?
See, Yvonne, that's such a good question. I don't think I'm that different. I mean, I really don't. I believe that all of us have capabilities to do things that we didn't think were possible. So I think, sometimes we have so many self-limiting beliefs about what we can't do that it gets in our way. And I think I don't know. Maybe what's special is I've just challenged some of those and thought, well, why not get a master's degree in my 60s? And I think I could do a doctoral program in my 70s. Like why not?
Yeah. Do you ever question it? I mean, do you ever think, no, I don't know if I can do that to anything, let's say.
Oh, oh, I am sure. I mean, I have to say, I have carefully selected things that I think I could do well at. And part of the reason I went back to school in my 60s, this was like 45 years after my bachelor's degree, was that I've been good. I was always good in school.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you wanted me to swim, I can't. I'm not a swimmer. Like I wouldn't even sign up for that. I think sometimes, we assume we should be good at something that we don't like. Why would we want to do that? But what happened when I went back to school and got my master's degree was I kind of fell in love with research. And that's when I started publishing papers, like co-authoring and publishing papers. And then I just really wanted to continue. So along the way, I also earned a graduate certificate in qualitative research at Indiana U.
That's amazing. And I'm really glad. I'm glad to know that you're not just like, everything just comes easy because that can be really intimidating when you're.
No, it doesn't come easy. And I think, I've talked a lot over the years about being an entrepreneur because I started my first business when I was 28 years old. Back in the day before women really started businesses, this was in technology, training, and business process change. And it was in the days when people would say, oh, honey, is that your husband's company? Or is that your dad's company?
Right. And
Um,
you were experiencing ageism like on the reverse end, like you were
On
too
the reverse
young
end,
for things,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I felt
Yeah,
like
it
I was
does cut
either,
both
yeah,
ways.
too young, too female, or maybe too short to have my own business.
Hmm.
But but it was a lot of hard work. I mean, really, an awful lot of the success I've had over decades has just been hard work. It's discipline. It's kind of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it, you know?
Yeah. How do you push through that? Like when because I come up against it sometimes with trying to build an audience for the podcast or trying to build an audience on YouTube, trying to grow my photography business. There are moments in time where I feel like I've flatlined, I'm not getting anywhere. Just a quick side question. What have you done to push through those moments?
So I think some of it has to do with passion. So the company that I started in my mid 60s after retiring twice and saying I was never going to work again is a company called Zing. And I started Zing really with this mission to help older adults live their best lives longer. Because, we're living longer than ever. We're living about twice as long as we were at the beginning of the century, or the 1900s. But we're not living better. We're living with more chronic disease and disability. And when I was in my mid 60s, I thought, I saw that people were aging very differently around me. And I was curious why. And so I started a business to help people live their best lives longer, but I had no training. So that's what prompted me to go back to school because I didn't have the expertise. And I think now it's the passion. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the public health education I provide through Wellness Wednesdays. I love the research projects that I'm doing, especially with nonprofits to help improve the health behaviors of people in underserved communities, better access to mental well-being, physical well-being. I love it all. And so when it's a late night and you love it, it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. So you study aging for a living. I mean, that's
I study
gerontology, right?
aging. And you know what, Yvonne, what's so funny is I am my own lab experiment. I mean, I really am. I am very big on scientific evidence, peer reviewed studies, randomized clinical trials. But at the end of the day, you could also kind of experiment with yourself and see, for example, one of the health habits that I've really built over the last 4 years is going to bed at the same time every night. There's a lot of research that shows that sleep regularity is just as important as sleep duration in terms of reducing the risk of heart disease, certain kinds of cancer, diabetes, and also increasing longevity. So it's something everybody can do, but it's hard. It takes some discipline.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've practiced that, and then I see how I feel, and oh my gosh, I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I am my own lab experiment also.
What
When
are you
I,
experimenting with?
well, it started close to 10 years ago. It's the reason this podcast exists. I was low energy, lonely, borderline depression, I would say. And now, what I didn't realize back then is it was perimenopause symptoms going on like crazy that I had no idea about. And I decided to try a 30-day experiment of getting up earlier in the morning to
Mm,
meditate every morning and move my body every day.
yeah,
And I would get up an hour before my kids because they were younger at the time. And it was, I think at the time I was doing a lot of self-help reading and things like that because I didn't feel very good about myself at that point in my life.
mhm,
And I was hearing a lot about morning routines and how successful people all had morning routines. And so I was like, well, what the heck? I'm going to try it. I'm going to put
yeah,
my alarm across the room, break up with my snooze button, and start doing this. And it was so hard. I'm not a morning person,
right.
but I started feeling better within a couple of weeks. And so, and even my kids noticed.
Yeah,
Like they didn't
yeah,
know what I was doing, but they noticed I was
yeah.
happy.
And I think you bring up a good point. First of all, it was hard. So if we're going to build a new healthy habit, it's it's hard. It's not like it just comes naturally. And second, you noticed a change. And I think that's what we have to be aware of. I think this kind of self-awareness with our health habits and what's improving and what isn't improving. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to really kind of go into the mindset thing because I know that's big for you. What would
Yes.
you say is the biggest misconception that people have about what they're capable of as they get older?
Yeah, so this is a great point. I'm going to give you a short answer and then I'm going to tie it to some research. So one of the things that happens as we get older is that we may start to kind of buy in to the ageist attitudes that are so prevalent in the world, that we are less capable, that we're slower, that we're not as interesting, that we can't use technology. I mean, there's an abundance of this thinking in the world. And it's hard to maybe change the world, but what happens is that we start to believe it ourselves. And it's because that message is reinforced, outside of us. And so I like to draw on
Everywhere.
on Becca Levy's research. So Dr. Becca Levy is a really famous researcher. I see you nodding your head, out of Yale. Back in early 2000, she published a paper that it was based on the Ohio longitudinal study of retirees. And they followed these older adults, age 50 and above, for more than 2 decades. And they initially measured, there were like 5 simple questions about their attitudes about aging, and then they also looked at their health status, and then they looked at who died. And what Dr. Levy found was that people who had positive attitudes about aging, which mostly is, yeah, there's more in me, there's more I can do. People who had those positive attitudes lived 7.5 years longer,
Isn't
and
that a crazy number?
they dramatically improved just their overall health, lower risk of heart disease, dementia, diabetes, etc.
Yeah. So not only
7.5
they're
years,
living longer, but they're living better.
they're living better.
Right?
And
Because
it's,
for me, I don't care. I have a feeling I could live to be pretty old, possibly, but I don't really care about how long I live. I just want to live. I want to be, you know, I want to be healthy.
yeah,
I want to feel good.
I think we all do. And so it's less about how long we live, but it's more about how long we live well. And
Hmm.
that's, I mean, that's really my mission. And so you ask, like, how can I work so hard and do all this stuff? It's because I really want to help people with this. And I think in a way, even by when I say that, help people with, we have it within ourselves. I'm like a catalyst for this. You and I know that I host these Wellness Wednesday programs with experts, in the field of healthy aging. And so, yes, I can introduce people to experts. I can chat about it. We can have discussions, etc. But at the end of the day, we're a lot more capable than we think. And I'm a gerontologist. That's what my master's degree is in. And I think we're a little incorrect in the field of gerontology, or older adult services, around helping people. We don't need to help people. We kind
Ah,
of need to tap into the capability and the intelligence and the wisdom that people have, and help and enable people to see it. But we don't really need to help them quite so much.
I love that. That's a great because I think that's the impulse that we have when we see an older person is that we assume maybe that they may need help.
That they might need help. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. So Dr. Levy also talks about something called stereotype embodiment theory. And this is like, let's say you have a 10-year-old boy and a mom and a grandma, and you're living in the same house, and the little boy constantly sees the mom helping grandma. Oh, here, let me make this for you. Let me do that for you. The stereotype embodiment theory demonstrates that that little boy is going to grow up to be more frail, more dependent. That's his role
Ah,
model of someone, an older adult, always needing help. And so what
wow.
happens is that we start to reinforce some of that negative feelings, and beliefs, even with kids at a young age.
That is incredible. That is incredible. It's I don't know about you, but one of the things that okay, let me back up a minute. The first observation I have is that when I started that morning routine, what happened is that my energy went up. I
Mhm.
started feeling better. I started feeling more hopeful. And after a while, I realized that part of what had been wrong is that all through my 40s, I was telling myself I was getting old. And
Really? In your
yes,
40s? Oh my God.
yes. And I was having
Eva.
issues. I had bunions, I had bursitis, and I was having shoulder issues. There were like a host of like smallish health issues that kept coming up through my
Yeah,
40s. And it kept presenting as evidence of I'm breaking down, I'm getting old. So I was convinced. And
mhm.
I've always been more afraid of getting old than dying.
Yes.
So feeling better, feeling more energy, I suddenly was like, wow, I feel better than I've felt in close to a decade if I continue to take good care of myself. And then I feel better for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
What's possible? But now that I'm aware of how predominant this way of thinking is about aging, I hear it in almost every conversation I have with people gathered at parties, family gatherings, what have you. So when somebody's internalized that story the way I think all of us have,
Yeah.
I'm too old or I'm too set in my ways or any of that, what does it actually take to shift it?
So this is really interesting because you can't just unthink it. You see, that is a challenge.
Yeah.
You can't just like use willpower
I'm still
or
ageist, Sally.
right.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I think it takes is action. And I'm gonna go back to something you said, and then I'm gonna give you an example. So part of it is if we're stuck in our own thinking and like that kind of I can't because, that
Hmm.
that self-limiting belief, you can't think your way out of it. You need to take some action that's going to propel you in a new direction. You did it by not hitting the snooze alarm and getting up and doing that on a more regular basis. So you took action. I'm gonna tell you my story. I'm gonna share with you kind of a vignette. So remember, I started my business when my second company at 66 to help older adults live their best life longer. But I had no training, no training except that I was 66. So I went back to school. I started at Stanford and I got a certificate in nutrition science, which was really grounding for me. And it made me think, wow, like maybe I could do more.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I loved that course. There was an amazing professor there, Dr. Christopher Gardner. He was the professor, and but it was an online program. I mean, I just saw his videos, and somehow I decided that I was going to have a conversation with him and maybe give him feedback about the class. And I agonized over this, like, oh, how am I going to write this? He's a world famous nutrition scientist, yada yada. I finally sent him an email. And as soon as I sent it, Yvonne, I was like clutching my throat, going, oh my God, what did I do? I embarrassed myself and all that. Well, he responded that same night and he wrote me like in all caps, yes, I want to talk to you. And can I bring some people? So what was interesting was this turns out it was the first time they had run this course. I met with Dr. Gardner and I met with 12 other people from Stanford to share feedback about the course. And ultimately, he and I became very good friends and colleagues. When I did my internship, I went on to get my master's degree at USC, but I did my internship with Dr. Gardner. We co-authored my very first research paper.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like I was afraid to send in that email. I wanted to talk to him, but I was afraid. But sometimes it's just a small step. Do something small you're afraid to do. You never know what's going to happen.
So action.
Action,
Action is the
action.
antidote.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool.
But I have another one, and this
Oh,
is really common, and it kind of ties back to Yvonne, what you said at the very beginning. You said, "Gee, Sally, are you special?" And I think what happens, especially as we get older, is that we compare ourselves to someone else, and we go, "Oh, I couldn't do what she's doing or what he's doing," and like as soon as you were asking me that today, I was thinking of other people. I have a dear friend and colleague. Some of my listeners know her, Annie Fenn. She's an MD. She founded the Brain Health Kitchen. She travels all over the world doing brain health retreats. And I'm like, oh my God, I could never be Annie. But the thing is, we need to be who we are. We need to follow our own passions and stop comparing ourselves not only to somebody else, but to the younger version of ourselves.
oh, that's huge.
The younger,
Yes.
the younger version of myself, I used to do a lot of yoga. I could, believe it or not, do a back bend and I could put my toes on my head. I could never get my whole foot on my
That's
head, but I
impressive.
could get
I've
my
never
toes
been
there.
flexible. That's amazing.
Well, I know, but that was 20 years ago. I mean, we are so far from that now. And so I still love yoga and I do what I can. I don't do that. It would be really unsafe to even try. But
Yeah.
I think so often we compare ourselves to someone else and or our younger selves. And then that's when we start getting those self-limiting beliefs again.
I call it comparanoia.
Oh, that's a great term. That's a
Yeah.
great term.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you're scrolling through social media, you see somebody and you feel that little thing that's like, "Ah, well, good for them." But and I'll say that one of the reasons I brought that up in the very beginning is I've actually had friends who listen to the podcast who have told me that my guests are amazing and they're so amazing that they don't see themselves
Mm,
in what that person has accomplished. But every single person that I've spoken to has had to overcome that same thing in one way, shape, or form,
yeah.
you know, in some part of their life.
Yeah.
And we compare ourselves all the time. I'm so glad you brought up comparing ourselves to the younger version of ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, and part of that too is I'll compare myself in a negative way, like look back on my younger self and think that I don't like who she was. And am I still, is that still in me? Am I
Oh,
still doing that?
oh, is that
Which is
interesting?
its own form of comparison,
Yeah.
I guess, in
Yeah.
a way,
Yeah.
right? So I can compare myself to what I was able to do that I can't do anymore, or, oh, geez, why can't I stop doing that? That's all comparison, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It's a lot of it. Yeah.
Wow. What do you do with that feeling?
Well, with the comparison, sometimes I mean it does seep in. Um, but sometimes I have to think about, is it something I really want to do? So I'll give you an example because we were talking about swimming. I was watching Netflix one night. My husband was out. I thought I can pick anything I want. And I watched the movie Naiad about Diane Naiad. Have you seen
Oh,
that?
is she the one that swam, what is it, the English Channel or
She swam from Cuba to Florida
right.
in shark
Shark
infested
infested.
waters. And it
Right.
took her like 5 times to do it. I mean, it took she had amazing like stick-to-itiveness and resilience. And you know what? I remember Yvonne watching that movie, and after I turned it off and went to bed, I was like, I could never do that. Oh my God, like this was so great. And she was so resilient and she kept trying and working. And then I thought, I wouldn't want to. Like, I don't want to swim with the sharks. And in fact, I don't even really like to swim. We've lived in our house now for, I don't know, 14 years. We have a swimming pool. I've been in it maybe 4 or 5 times. I don't like to swim. So why are we comparing ourselves to somebody where we don't want to do it? I've gone back to school. How cool is that? It's great for me because I love school. Most people don't want to go back to school or take finals or write papers. So why should you and why should you feel lesser because you don't want to do that?
Ooh, perfect. So, so great. You're so right. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
love watching, what is it, American Ninja Warrior? I am so inspired by those people, but I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
watch them and go, wow, what, you know, what is it in somebody that makes them want to do something like that? But it's not for me.
But I do think that tapping into something you're passionate about, and it could be gardening. It could be helping the kid down the street with his homework. There's so many different things that we can be involved in.
What would you recommend for somebody to figure out what they actually really want versus
Yes.
what they should want?
So I love this because there's so much in the literature, the scientific literature, about the importance of having a purpose in terms of improving, overall health and well-being. And I think that puts pressure on people. It's like, oh my God, what do you mean you don't have a purpose? You have to have a purpose. And there's a Japanese term that I like better. It's called Ikigai. And it's really more of kind of reason for being. It's almost like reason for getting up in the morning. And so it doesn't have to be like save the whales, end world hunger, establish world peace. It doesn't have to be that big, but it has, but there is benefit, I think, for making a difference in the world. And I believe that we are never too young or too old to learn and grow and make a difference in the world, even if that difference is helping one person. I think right now in the world we're a little short on kindness. You can be kind to anyone. Just look around you. Who could you be kind to?
Mm,
Something that simple. And again, I think this idea of even Ikigai and kind of finding purpose, I'm putting quotes around purpose here, is yeah, you need to go out there. You need to be out in the world a bit. And it's easier as we get older to just be more inward and stay inside. And certainly the pandemic didn't help that. So we
mm.
might have to nudge ourselves a little to get out and to be social.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So before we go, I do want to know a little bit more about Zing and what are you building? What's the big why? Like, what made you decide that that was going to be your next big chapter?
Yes, I wish I could answer that succinctly. I think the reason, though, that I started Sing was really a personal desire to age in a healthy way.
Hmm.
And then, I don't know, it's just who I am. It's like, oh, I think I could start another company. I mean, it was really a desire to make a difference in the lives of others. But I needed training to do it. So I just have always loved school. And it was really kind of this passion for making a difference in the world combined with an opportunity to learn something brand new. Nutrition science, and then the Master of Science in Gerontology, qualitative research, and now I'm doing a doctorate in public health. It's just all been new to me, but I like it and I love research. And I never thought I would like research. So I guess that is one thing. But sometimes the action we take is we have to try something we're not sure if we're going to like and see what happens. I had to take research methods in order to get my master's degree. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love this.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very cool. That's very cool. How do the Wellness Wednesdays work?
Yeah,
What is,
so let me tell you a little bit about Zing. When I first started Zing, I thought I might do more coaching, one-on-one coaching, but I realized that I could reach a broader audience by doing more health education. And so my platform for that is Wellness Wednesdays. Now, Wellness Wednesdays are an online program. It's free to anybody who wants to participate. All of the programs are recorded, so they're typically middle of the month, the second Wednesday of the month, 11 a.m. Pacific. But people can't always show up, so you can get the recording. And they are on topics related to lifestyle, mental well-being, overcoming ageist attitudes. We've had topics on mental well-being, grief, anxiety, dealing with loss. And I have amazing experts. I'm amazed at the people who are going to be on the program. Coming up, we have Dr. Judd Brewer. He's going to be talking about unwinding anxiety. I have Dr. Melissa Sunderman. She's going to be talking about nature as medicine. Dr. Corey Rovsar is going to be talking about lifestyle choices we can make to improve arthritis.
why am I not
So
in your community, Sally?
they're really
This sounds fabulous.
so
I need to go look.
they're really
Yeah.
practical.
Oh,
Now, I it's a free program, but it works a little like NPR. It's like if you like it, you could subscribe. So I do this out of my own time and I pay these people out of my own pocket, but I do rely on subscribers. So then subscribers have special services. So subscribers can access more than 100 Wellness Wednesday recordings and they can share them. Then we also have special events for subscribers. One of those is community conversations, where we come together quarterly and we talk about what it's like to get older. We talk about glass half full and glass half empty, and we have honest conversations about it.
I love it. All right, so last question before we wrap up. If someone's sitting here listening to this right now and they're sitting on something that they've been wanting to do, what do you want them to hear?
So is if it's something that somebody's contemplating, I mean,
Hmm.
and it might be small, it might be a vacation, it might be a trip that somebody has to take, but they don't have someone to go with them, and that's kind of scary. It's
Yeah,
something that they want to do, but it's kind of scary. I'm going to say try it. See what happens. Take a first step, a baby step. I think about how much my life changed because I sent an email to Professor Christopher Gardner and how many doors opened because of that. And I was like, I was so scared to do it. And, look what happened. And I think we limit ourselves by not trying.
that's so perfect. I'm a believer in baby steps.
Baby
It's
steps.
amazing what
Yeah,
happens when you take one tiny step, then
yeah,
the dominoes start to fall. It's amazing.
yeah.
Sally, this was exactly the conversation I was hoping for. Thank you so much for bringing yourself, your awesome energy, your research, and your story, and just sharing a little bit of that Pollyanna energy with us. We all needed it.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. I've loved being a part of the program today.
Ah, me too. And for you watching or listening, if this episode is making you think about really getting moving on something, share it with somebody who you think also might enjoy it or need to hear it. You probably already have somebody in mind, is my guess. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now so that you don't miss what's coming next. I will see you next week. And in the meantime, bloom like you mean it.